Well, I didn't run this guy too much last year, but it lives here on the carport, so it doesn't get rained on all the time. Went to start it up because I have now a, let's see if we can see it here. We have a small drag blade for it, and I've been ordering some parts for the 3-point to get the right adapters. This is a Cat 0 adapter, and while that is a subcompact blade, it's a Cat 1 pin. Got some different pins. It should pull it. It's the same size as one that would have come with this, so she should chooch along fine, but she won't start, won't sputter, won't nothing. Near as I can tell, I have no spark on either side. Going down some troubleshooting here. It's not the kill, because I have that disconnected. But the next point in the troubleshooting is measuring some voltages, I'm sorry, some resistance on the spark modules, which you would take them out or expose them to do so. Now, near as I can tell though, I should be able to do this with them still in the engine, from which I believe to be, number 2 here is the kill switch. I'm getting from ground to the kill wire coming up to the plug here. So we're going from the engines from here to ground. I'm getting a high resistance. So do I have something wrong with the kill? My guess is that I've got a busted wire or a wire frayed to ground, and it's grounding out the modules, just because the engine had some mouse turds on the battery. So, you know, I washed my engine a little bit. Yes, I was careful, there's no water in the carburetor, and blew out underneath here and stuff. Nothing really came out. I mean, I had a little bit of material here and material on the other side, but it wasn't mouse nest material. It was just your standard accumulation of dry grass. And when I blew around down in various places that I could get to, nothing really significant came out. But I'm not sure where to go from here other than actually get to the spark modules and do these measurements. Getting to those is going to be fun, because the front cowl would have to come off here. This piece would have to come off, and that means the front PTO stuff has to come off this engine. That may be interesting. They've been on there for, 20 years, and I don't want to damage the engine. Oh goody. Okay, so I went into town for some excuse me, fiddly bits and some other test materials that I did not have, to continue on trying to diagnose my no start, no spark. And a thought occurred to me that was not in the diagnosing no spark in the shop manual, and that is that this vehicle has a oil sentry switch. There's my problem. I unhooked it, and it basically fired right up. I had spark anyway. I didn't actually let the engine run, because I'm going to come back to that and figure out, is this sensor just not pressurizing, or not letting go rather, or do I actually have a low oil pressure issue? She's always had, I always keep good levels. My oil is focus. Okay, well, it's not going to focus. it's hard to see on the phone. But anyway, it's right at the full line. My oil is clean, and I keep good clean oil in it. But before I get to that, we're going to take care of some issues that I found in here. The somewhat melted but still working 30 amp main fuse here. Hey, look, that fits in there perfectly. Holes line up and everything. So we're going to put a nice nicer circuit breaker in here and clean up some of the wiring here a little bit. Replace you know, the ends here because they're kind of rusty and nasty. Get some good stuff in here, clean my wiring up a little bit, remount this relay, and then I'll come back to this. I may see if I have the correct color here because it confuses people. That should be a black one. We'll clean up the wiring harness a little bit, replace the tape where I need to, and then I'll vacuum up all this really good and clean it so I don't drop stuff down in the engine. There is a procedure by which you can test this by putting a certain PSI on it and seeing if it opens up. So we'll test this guy out, or try to test this guy out before I actually fire this engine up, just in case something broke loose in whatever pumps oil through here. I doubt I have an oil pressure problem. This is an older engine. She does leak a little bit, probably in the rings and valve seats and whatnots. It doesn't smoke when it runs, but after you've been setting for a while, you will get a couple puffs of smoke out when it starts up first. And I know this engine doesn't have as much chooch as it should. At some point, it's probably going to need a rebuild. But it has cast iron sleeves, and you can still buy rebuild kits and stuff for this particular engine, so I should be good. Anyway, we're going to clean up in here. We're going to put some rust inhibitor down, maybe throw a little spray paint. Okay, sorry about that. My phone ran out of memory. I really need to clean that up and see what's on it. Anyway, I switched to a different phone real quick to finish this up. As I was saying, I'm going to throw down some rust inhibitor, rust reclaimer, let that do its thing for a little bit. Probably fill a little bit of spray paint down in here, and then we'll take a look at this. But at least the engine is functional-ish, but I want to make sure that I don't have an oil pressure problem before we go further, or I could seriously damage the engine. So, okay, I took the oil sentry switch out, cleaned it, tested it with a little air pressure, and put it back in. Well, it tested good. Oh, okay. Anyway, I put it back in. I'm still going to order a new one though. It's not too hard to replace. Still working on some wiring stuff. She lives.